Today I'm really excited. I've got my good friend Emma Beattie here from Flourish Yoga. Emma is the founder of Flourish Yoga, but it's not just a yoga studio. It is a community in Takapuna. Emma's got this beautiful way of cultivating community, cultivating really great people, and you must watch this podcast if you're thinking about starting a business, particularly something that's in person and building community. Thanks for joining me, Emma.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that lovely intro.
So, Emma, what does like a good, solid practice to set you up for your day look like?
A lot of deep breaths. I have a 4-year-old who's a very high energy toddler. And so sometimes there's just not time for a physical practice. I won't have time to get on my mat for 20, 30 minutes. So it might look like a quick stretch for my back, a few deep breaths. I do a lot of breath work and not what everyone's imagining, me sitting there doing all this kind of thing. It's literally just me sitting there with my eyes closed, taking a few deep breaths to try and set the tone for my morning. Because guaranteed with a toddler, no matter how you think it's going to go and how much you plan, it's always going to be chaos. So often my practice is a lot of breath work. Occasionally I'm lucky that I can make it out to another teacher's class, and that is always a real treat. You'll often find that yoga teachers are probably doing the least amount of practice because we're just teaching when everybody else has their classes. So
oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And how does that look? I mean, now you've got a 4-year-old. Life's busy when you have kids.
Yes.
It's just a part of that phase of life. Like I talk to so many other parents and they're like, oh, it's chaos, it's busy. But I think it's just that phase while you're raising these little gremlins. If anyone's seen that film. But what did it look like before that? Like, have you got this phase of your life as a mother, as a business owner?
Yes.
What did it look like in the beginning when you first started
Oh my
practicing?
goodness. I was practicing probably 4 or 5 times a week and teaching. I started teaching when I lived in Paris, and then it wasn't until I moved to London a little while after that I really picked up what I would consider a full-time teaching schedule. And you're just sort of really spoiled in London. There's a studio on every other street corner. And so as a teacher there, I was just, so lucky to pick up a whole heap of classes. But that meant I had a load of different studios I could practice at, and just that freedom to go to a class every day if I wanted to. And often I did. That was, my friends were all yoga teachers. We used to go to class together and hang out. So it was just yoga all the time. So it's been quite a sharp adjustment now that we're in the young child phase of life, where I've just had to pare that part of it back. And I still sneak in a class here and there where I can.
Yeah.
It's still a priority for me. And but it's been a little adjustment.
Do you find moments where you can connect to your mind, body and spirit within the busy of parenting? Are there opportunities within that space maybe for other people that have kids and are trying to carve out that space to be able to connect to themselves?
Definitely. I think my toddler is in a way my greatest teacher, because their emotions are so big at their age, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their emotions are almost like bigger than their body, and so if you're not calm, connected, regulated, there's no way they're going to be. So you have to really do the work to help them be able to manage their emotions.
Yeah, when you say the work, what is that? What do we mean by? I actually hear this term a lot. Got to do the work. I'm like, what's the work?
What is the work? What is it?
What is it? Can I sign up somewhere?
Is there a
Maybe
course?
That's like a good name for our offering.
Yeah, do the work. I think it's just pausing before you react. One of my favorite quotes is a Viktor Frankl quote, and it says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that, I'm probably going to butcher the quote, but in that space is your power to choose your response, and in that response lies your growth. And so basically saying, before you act or react, pause, take a deep breath, and kind of, you can feel certain emotions like frustration or anger. They rise super quickly. You can feel them bubble up. And so noticing that happen, acknowledging that happen, take a deep breath, and then choosing a different reply. So instead of just blowing it, and it still happens, like I'm human, I still yell. But, really trying to be present and be like, okay, I really want to yell and scream right now, but that is not going to help him, that is not going to help me, and it is not going to make the situation better. So basically just gritting your teeth and
being the adult, right?
Being the adult, yeah. How hard is that when you just want to have the toddler tantrum yourself?
I love that though. I've been exploring conflict lately, particularly when there's times when, I like to think that I'm, during the majority of the time, the adult, but sometimes those emotions just get up, and then I just rage it out, and then the person that I'm with is raging it out as well. Yeah. But, if you're particularly if you have a relationship with that person and you are having it out, sometimes there's some real great gems in those moments, because you're really speaking from the heart. You're really speaking from what's coming alive in you in that exact moment. And then I look at society and how we're all reaching for self-awareness and reaching for compassion, which are wonderful things. But with that takes that taking a moment, checking in with yourself, that process. But sometimes it's just so good to just have it out with another person.
And I think, when emotions bubble up, we're not trying to get rid of them. It's more just trying to acknowledge what's there and be like, I am super, verbalize it more maybe than yelling and telling the other person what you think of them. Just be like, I am feeling super frustrated right now, and it's hard because you want to let it out, have a bit of a scream. And sometimes that's what we're working with in our classes as well, is not pretend everything's okay and ignore what's there. It's actually, okay, tune in so you can notice what is there. Emotions are our body's way of telling us that something is out, something needs attention. And so it's not about suppressing it and pushing it back down and being like, but pretend everything's okay and just breathe deeply and you'll be all right. It's tools to help you process those emotions. Yeah, and come back to that kind of nervous system regulation through being able to deal with your emotions and not just be like, oh, I'm super angry, but, I have to be positive and smile my way through it, Do
you feel like if you do that, suppress those emotions, it comes out either 10 times worse or in other ways?
Definitely. I think if you suppress it, either comes out as illness, sickness, that stress, those stress levels just causing, low immunity or whatever, or it just, you just burst. Got to come out somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really inspired by the way that you started your business, and you didn't start out by running all the classes yourself. You cultivated this community of really amazing other practitioners doing lots of different things. So when I lived in Auckland, I used to go to Emma's classes at Flourish Yoga, but it was really cool. You kind of had there was a variety of things, but there was this real synergy between all the practitioners as well. Was that intentional? Did you start a business and you were like, I'm not going to run all of these classes all by myself?
Yeah, definitely. I knew, one, that I didn't have the capacity or the time to do them all, but also how boring just to have one person just doing all of the classes, just that same face every time. And so when I knew I wanted to open the studio, I went to classes with a whole lot of teachers, and I feel like every teacher has something really special to offer. Everyone brings their own flavour, their own magic, their own experience and their own history. And I just found a group of teachers who I really liked to practice with. I loved the way that they taught and cued and got the information across. But they're also people that were humble and down to earth and didn't make you feel like you had to be a performer, be good, that you could just show up as you were, and that was great. That was all you needed. And just people who were just really lovely humans, because so much of it is making that community and those connections with people before and chatting to them after classes. So that was really important to me, was to have a group of people that valued those things as well. And then everybody has things that they're good at, right? So I really love teaching the pre and the postnatal yoga and the yoga flows. But then I have teachers who are amazing with meditation, breath work, restorative yoga, those more meditative practices, which I enjoy doing from time to time and teaching from time to time, but not all the time. It's not my thing. And so I knew that I would need to just expand my network of people that were just really good at what they did. You know, they had their niche, they were super good at it, and just bring us all together in the one space. So we have our regular class schedule, and then we also have a bunch of wonderful workshop facilitators that come in. So beautiful couple that lead a breathwork course, and lovely teacher who does sound baths and kind of somatics and that kind of thing, and another teacher who does women's circles and journaling, and they're all amazing in what they do. Me trying to learn how to do a sound bath and then learn how to do breath work, that'd be exhausting, and that would come across. So, I wanted to not only create the community with the people coming to class, but the teachers and the facilitators themselves.
Yeah, and I think you can really feel that when you're in the classes, when you're taking part in the programs, the diversity within everyone's different techniques and what they specialise in. Being an in-person studio, I mean, you started before COVID as well, you know, there was all that. And with everything moving online, especially when we were talking earlier around, different people not going into class, maybe it's like an all-woman class and feeling that intimidation.
Yeah.
With online, you can do it at home, in the safety of your own home. Where do you see in-person studios in the place that they hold in society in the future?
So I think that in-person contact and connection to other humans is a big part of it. We're social creatures, maybe not all of us, but most of us are pretty social creatures. So coming out and just being around other people that have a similar interest. If you're all coming to a class, you've all got something in common. And the online is great, and definitely during COVID it kept a lot of places going because there was still that ability to hold classes, ability to do classes. But I think having a dedicated space to go, particularly for a practice like that, can make a big difference to how you feel at the end of the practice. And whether you are using it as just to feel good in your body, to stretch out a little bit, to help with sore back, or maybe you're hunched over a computer all day, whether it's just from that point of view or whether you're looking for the mindfulness, a chance to meditate and that kind of thing. In practice, having a teacher in person to guide you, and having everybody around you in the same space, moving through the same practice, you get that collective energy, which is quite different to practicing it on your own. I still do like to practice at home, and you can get into the flow. It's still lovely, but I'm always looking at my floors and being like, oh, damn, I got to vacuum. My laundry's on the couch, the cat needs feeding. There's always something. And so getting into that dedicated space where you almost close the door on all of that, and you can just put down that mental load, turn off your phone so you're not reachable for an hour, and you're really carving out that time for yourself, which I think is, when it's online, might just be a, quick 20 minutes, quick 30 minutes or whatever it is, but I still think in person is the way to go.
Yeah.
I guess I'm always going to be biased because
Of course.
I get to do it every day, so I get that feeling every day. But something very special when you're in a group of people who all want to be there, who are all very intentional about their movements and their, how they show up. That's pretty special to be around.
And your studio is placed, like the placement of the studio is in amongst a very community vibrant area. Like, it's based in Takapuna in Auckland. There's lots of boutique clothing stores, cafes, restaurants. Like, the vibe is quite bustling. Yeah. There's a beach. There's always people around. Do you think that's got a big part of the success of the studio as well, like the placement of it?
I think so, because a lot of people live within walking distance, and as well, like you say, it's just a cool vibe around. You can walk to the shops, walk to the beach, walk to the cafes and restaurants. So it's a really cool hub. I really enjoy being part of that, Takapuna community.
And was that intentional for you when you were setting up the business as well? Did you look around and think about where you wanted to place that? When you wanted to start building a community, where you wanted it placed?
Yeah, it was a big part of it. I grew up on the North Shore, and so that's always felt like home. So when I moved back from overseas, I knew that I wanted to open my own space. Yeah. And so really it was thinking about accessibility. So a lot of people have cars, of course, but not everybody, and not everybody wants to be taking their car out to go to yoga. Some people want a bike. And so being somewhere that was a little more accessible and like a hub, if you're coming in to do a class, you can go and do your food shop, you can go to the library, you can go down the beach. We're not just sort of isolated, we're less destination, and, Takapuna itself is the destination, and we get to be part of that, which is quite nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Because I think location is important for businesses like ours.
Yeah. I just think you're so good at cultivating community. Like, it's a big part of what I saw when, first meeting you. And is that something that you cultivate within your family life as well?
I've always really loved chatting to people and finding out about their life, their story, their opinions. Mm-hmm. I always ask a lot of questions when I'm talking to people, and that's because I'm just genuinely interested in who they are and what they do and, what they think. And so I think it just comes pretty naturally to me. If someone walks into a space, I want to chat to them. Mm. And I think especially when, I set Flourish up, it feels like you're welcoming people into your space. So I feel like it should be you that opens up that conversation, and welcomes them in. You want people to feel like they can be open and chat. And a lot of people, students that come into class, become friends, and we have that communication. Like, that's how I met you, through you coming to classes. And so honestly, sometimes I get to the end of the class and I'm like, this is just me in a room full of friends. Yeah. And it genuinely feels that way because we all chit chat and know each other. And one of my clients brings me in shampoo, and I know, got a good hookup. It's just really another one bought in sourdough the other day. Amazing. But it really does feel that way. And so with family as well, or through like our neighbourhood. So I know a lot of my neighbours really well, and we hang out. So I think it's really important to create those communities based around where you are. It's just more fun that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's about the people that we have in our lives. Yeah. And on your family, you speak French, your partner's French, and and your son is raised bilingual, I understand.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like, how is that going for you?
That has been interesting with Louis and his upbringing. So his dad is from the south of France. We met when I was living in Paris, and initially I moved to Paris just because I wanted to speak French. And I decided that I wasn't going to be fluent enough, if you can be fluent enough, unless I did that.
I love that term, fluent enough.
Yeah. I was like, I might be able to string together a few sentences after studying it here, but I really need to move there. And I was like, where do you go when you go to France? You move to Paris. So I just moved there. I lived with my ex-boyfriend's dad's cousin.
Such a Kiwi thing.
Yeah.
My ex-boyfriend, dad's cousin.
And I think it gave me this kind of really false view of what living in Paris was like, because they live one street back from the Elysee Palace where the president lives. And so after that experience of 2 weeks in this beautiful apartment, I was like, reality hit, and I was like, oh, okay, no, I'm just in like a seventh floor walk up single room with a bed in the corner. But yeah, I moved there to learn the language fluently, and then actually met my partner who was living in London at the time. So Kiwi living in French man living in the UK. And when we had Louis, I said to my partner how important it was for me that he kept in touch with his French heritage and the language and had that connection to his country. So his name, Louis, the French spelling, and named after his grandfather. And even though he's, in an English-speaking daycare, one of the teachers is from New Caledonia, so encouraged them to speak in French together. And at home he has the books. We speak in French. We try and translate back and forth. So really just trying to find ways that we can keep that connection for him so that he can grow up bilingual and with an understanding of both cultures as well.
And do you find it hard with it just being the two of you creating that for him? Like, are there other, you've got the daycare person that's supporting as well, but do you go further out from there to help support with those, living by those two different cultures and retaining that connection?
I think a big part is just the contact with with the French side of the family. So the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, we try and call and speak to them frequently. And we have a few French-speaking friends as well. And so I feel like he is exposed to the French language and the French culture a lot, just through us. I love it as well, so I think that makes it easier for us to bring into the home. But really just, keeping contact. I feel like it's the same for me. Like if I don't make an effort to speak it and to engage with it, then it's too easy for it to, move into the recesses of your mind.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's just practice, repetition.
Yeah, exposure.
Keeping it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the same with with my son and Mauri and all of that kind of thing. So do you have any mentors or people that have hugely inspired your journey around yoga, running a business as well? You're a mom trying to cultivate all of these things.
Yes. So when I first moved to London, I was introduced to a teacher who was running a studio in Battersea, Angus. Big shout out to Angus. And he was running the studio, an amazing yoga and mindfulness meditation teacher. When I met him, he was in a smaller space and said, he wanted to move into a bigger space. And I just kind of fell into working with him. He was like, I need someone who can do all that, the admin and that side of things, who's also a teacher who sort of understands both ends of it. And so I just really blagged my way into a full-time job. You know, half of it was teaching, half of it was helping to run and manage the teachers and do all the admin and things like that. And really just seeing the way that he ran the whole thing. Never seemed stressed. Always kind of matter-of-fact about things. Very grounded. So I remember one conversation that I had. Someone called on the phone when he was in the office next to me, and she was getting super riled up about the schedule. And it was London, so we used to have like 25, 30 classes on the schedule a week. But that wasn't good enough. There wasn't this time, there wasn't that time, and she was getting super, super worked up. And he was just like, I hear you, I understand, I can hear that it's frustrating. And he was just so chill. When in my mind, all I wanted to do was be like, well, if it's not good enough, go somewhere else. And I just sat there and watched him, and I was like, wow, you handled that like a champ. And he was like, you know, there was nothing else that you could have said to make her happy and for her to find what she wants. She wasn't ready to engage with the practice, so she was just trying to find things wrong with it. And he just had this whole other perspective on things. And so he was a big influence and big inspiration, because I was like, again, it comes back to when you're parenting a toddler, like when you're looking after a business, if you're not calm and chill and regulated through the hard parts of running a business, because there are some pretty stressful times, everything falls down around you. So you have to be like the pillar that's holding it all together so it doesn't all crumble.
Absolutely. And you know what, Emma, you do walk the talk. Because I was in one of your classes once. I was so inspired by that. And you know, there's so many moments where I'm the same, where someone says something and they're rude and you want to meet that rudeness with rudeness, but what is that really resolving, right? Like, you're not connecting, you're not finding a resolution forward, you're kind of stuck in this place that, you know, neither of you probably want to stay.
That's right. No one likes to feel horrible, and we, most of the time, I'm a people pleaser, you know, we want people to like us. But more than that, I think it's about choosing what you let disrupt your inner chill. And I think if you just meet people where they are, people just want to be understood and heard, right? And half of the battle is just being like, I hear that, and, you know, I get that it's upsetting or distressing for you. I understand that. And most of the time that is just like so disarming, because you're like, oh, they've actually heard me. You know, they've listened to what I'm saying. They're not just replying, you know, and thinking of the next thing that they can say to win the conversation. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. But it's, you know, it takes a lot of practice to get to that point where, you, like you say, it's so easy to meet rudeness with rudeness, because that's usually just what comes to mind straight away, right? It's kind of rewiring those parts of the brain that make you just want to react and win, instead of being like, well, how can we get somewhere together? You know, at the end of the day, it's just another human there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And do you think that comes back into the whole community vibe? That's really what community is about, right? It's about connection, hearing one another, being there for one another, moving in a direction together, even if it's just a yoga class where you're starting out, maybe all trying to de-stress or get fitter or find some connection to mind, body, spirit, and then we're all on that journey together.
I agree. And I think one of my life mottos is leave things better than you found them, especially when it comes to other people. You know, a lot of us, some of us come to yoga practice because we're having a tough time. You know, I started because I was super stressed out with exams and just not managing my stress and anxiety super well. And so came into that, you know, that practice for that reason. And other people coming because they're having a tough time or going through tough things. And we never know what people's story is. Like, sometimes when people are rude to us, it's because they've had a totally terrible day. And they just need to get it out, and you become the target. And so I think if you can, acknowledge that we're all going through something to an extent. We're all dealing with daily stresses in life. Some of us going through tougher times than others. I think if you can acknowledge that is true for probably everybody that you're coming across, and just try and be a little bit of a ray of sunshine in somebody else's day, then why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And so what's next for the Flourish community? Like where do you see that headed from here?
Good question. So we've been open for about 6 years now, and I'm still really enjoying it, still really enjoying the balance of running the business side of it and teaching the classes and doing what I do. So I don't really see that changing anytime soon. But what I would love to get more into is perhaps putting together some trainings for other teachers. And not just like the generic 200-hour, 300-hour teacher training, but further trainings for teachers. So like the pregnancy yoga, the postnatal yoga, maybe restorative yoga, those kinds of things, those more like specialist practices.
That's such a good idea because, you got the two. So for anyone that doesn't know, there's like the 200 and then the 300 and then combined 500. Is that right?
Yeah. So most people would start with a 200-hour teacher training course, and it's made up of practical hours and study and observation, that kind of thing. The 300 is like that next step further on training. And then at the end of those, you can say, I'm a 500-hour.
I'm a yoga teacher.
I'm a yoga teacher.
But I guess there's not a lot of opportunity for other trainings, right? Like, what do you do then?
Yeah, that's right. Where do you go? And a big thing that I'm passionate about is the pregnancy yoga and the postnatal yoga. So yoga for mums with young babies. So I'm talking like 6 weeks to 10 months old. And that's not something that you can just read in a book and teach safely. So that's a big thing that I'm passionate about and would like to get into training teachers. I've hosted a couple of workshops about integrating pregnant women into your general classes, because the reality is that as a teacher you're going to come across someone who comes to your class who's pregnant or who's just had a baby. The same with injuries. You're going to come across people that have had a whole, lower back, knee, shoulder. You got to know how to look after those people well and safely, and not just say, oh, well, you sit this bit out because you can't do it.
Do nothing while I teach everyone else.
Do nothing, just breathe and relax. They're coming to you because they want to move and flow, so you need to be able to cater for them. And so I would love to put together a training for that. So teachers can, I feel like it's really enriching when you do these further trainings. Makes you a better teacher, makes you more comfortable as well when those kinds of things happen. If you have your class plan and then you get someone walk in who's 6 months pregnant, another person who's just had knee surgery, class plan out the window. You've got to be able to pivot and, and make sure that everybody can take part safely. And
how would you teach that class? Would it be bringing in a whole bunch of people with injuries and some people?
So I wouldn't even know where to start. But that's why I think putting together a training that's a little more specialist and focused might be something that I look at when I'm through the early toddler years, of course.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
And when you do that, we'll need to have another conversation about how that's all going. Hey, Emma, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm hugely inspired. I definitely want to get back on my mat more after speaking to you. Connect my mind, body and spirit. And it's just been such a wonderful conversation, and so appreciate your time and energy.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was nice to chat.
Yeah. I'm going to pop all the details around Emma. You can find out more about her classes and what she's got going on, and I highly recommend attending one of her classes if you're in the Takapuna area in Auckland. The links will be included in the show. And if you've enjoyed the show, I would love for you to subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps the podcast and also helps others find their way to this space too. So flick me an email with any thoughts or reflections that you have. I always love hearing from you. That's wā for now. Until next time, tihei Mauri ora.